Good afternoon, everyone. We will resume the September 14, 2023 meeting of the Palm Desert City Council, successor agency to the Palm Desert Redevelopment Agency and Palm Desert Housing Authority. Mayor Pro Tem Quintanilla will lead, roll call.
Councilmember Harnick,
Here.
Councilmember Nastandi, Mayor Pro Tem Quintanilla,
Presente.
Councilmember Truby.
Here.
Mayor Kelly,
Here.
all councils present.
And now, Mayor Pro Tem Quintanilla will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by words of inspiration from Councilmember Truby.
Please stand if you are able.
Okay, well, I want to start by saying thank you all for coming today. It's love the engagement from our citizens and staff, residents. I actually borrowed this one from the Federalist Papers. This was written by James Madison, Essay 49, and it goes, "It is the reason alone of the public that ought to control and regulate the government. The passions ought to be controlled and regulated by the government." And I believe that we honor those sentiments when we conduct our affairs here in Palm Desert City Hall. We use collaboration, deliberation, discussion, and above all, civility and respect to form our policies. And I'm so proud and grateful to be a part of that process. With the help of our wonderful staff and the input of the public, I have no doubt that Palm Desert will continue to be a prosperous and successful city. So please, no pitchforks and torches. Let's just continue with discussion and thoughtfulness as we help move our city forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any report from closed session? At you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. There's no reportable action taken in closed session this evening, although there's a related item on the consent calendar.
Thank you. We have two presentations. There are many important observances in the month of September. If you look around you this evening, you see quite a lot of orange, and that is intended to call our attention to Hunger Action Month, and in particular, Hunger Action Day tomorrow. And Kelly Chesterton would like to come forward to give us some further information. Just face the assembled folks.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. And so just wanted to share a little bit about Fine Food Bank and the Hunger Action Month and Hunger Action Day initiative. It is a nationwide initiative throughout the month of September, just really focusing our efforts in inspiring our individuals in the community to come forward to help end hunger and join the movement by either advocating, volunteering, or even donating to our organization. There's certain ways that we can partner together with local individuals or businesses if you'd like to pair up for a fundraiser. And just know that all these initiatives, with whether you want to come lend your hand and volunteer at the warehouse or a distribution site, a lot of those efforts will go to helping 150,000 clients every month on average that we serve. And 38% of that is children, and 19% of that is comprised of our senior community, as well as 43% in the working population for families. But thank you to City of Palm Desert for all the work you've done to support our residents in the recent storms as well. And through the storms, we've also had a lot of need through our residents in the area because they've either, were displaced or had loss of food in their homes because of loss of power and some of those emergencies that took place a couple of weeks ago. As the city continues to rebuild, we are really here to support our residents, whether any storm comes or not. So we're here for them. And we just want to invite our community to come partner with us. We're available at finefoodbank.org. And our phone number is on our website as well. So we hope to see you all at our warehouse. Thank you for your time today. And thank you, City of Palm Desert, for, I know that you all are on our calendars for several volunteer sessions and all the support that you've contributed to Fine Food Bank as well to help our clients, and also the lighting up and the banners. It looks fantastic. So thank you all so much for the support. Thank you.
This room is chock full of heroes in the face of the monumental storm that we experienced. All adverse impacts could not be prevented, sadly, but they were greatly minimized because of the heroic efforts of the Palm Desert City staff. So I'd like to ask all my council colleagues to join me so that we can say thank you to our heroes. And let me have you stand back because folks are going to come forward for the photo op of the century. On behalf of a grateful city, I have signed certificates of appreciation to several departments. They use some common phrases. Past staff at the City of Palm Desert have set the bar very, very high. So truthfully, in Palm Desert, it's not possible to perform above and beyond the call of duty. There's no space up there. The bar for the call of duty in the City of Palm Desert is high. And our staff answered that call of duty in exemplary fashion and related to the public with compassion and dedication, embodying the best culture and values of this city, all of which we will celebrate on November 18th at our 50th anniversary party. So I am going to feature the key contributions of several departments, and as I do, I would ask the members of that department present to come forward. I am intentionally building up to the frontline workforce who are out there soaked to the bone because they deserve to be in the front of the photo op. First, we are grateful to the city manager's office for setting the tone and providing the resources and support for all of our staff who are engaged in meeting this emergency. So if you're present from the city manager's office, please come forward. I'll add that some of the folks who just came forward are pretty good at filling sandbags. We are deeply appreciative to the Development Services Department for responding sensitively to those with occupancy issues and helping to get residents to safety. Please come forward if you helped from the Development Services Department. That's you. We are grateful to the Economic Development Department for their outreach and communications, particularly with our business community, to assure that their needs were met. Yes, please come forward. To our finance department for making sure we could pay for it all. Please come forward from the finance department. Here, we're gonna have to fill in. I don't think Anthony has wide angle lens. And our true leadership heroes, members of the Public Works Department who work to the point of exhaustion, responding to each and every need in the interests of public safety and the welfare of our residents. Thank you. No, you gotta stay in front. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you your Palm Desert heroes.
Please.
Finance.
And I hope in the weeks to come, if you see a city worker out on the streets, you'll take a moment to add a personal thank you. It makes a huge difference. City manager comment.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to invite Amy Lawrence up to provide the council with a progress report on our 50th anniversary planning.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council. We are giving you an update from Palm Springs Life. Actually, Paulina Larson is joining us, and I guess she's in the parking lot. I'm hoping to see her walk down at any moment here. So I know we are on a deadline, so I can go ahead and start.
I
the
see her
presentation.
walking in now.
Thank you. That's
Amy,
wonderful.
Could I ask you to hold that thought?
Of course you can.
Because we have two members of the public who would like to add their personal thank yous to
Absolutely.
the public works staff, and it would be great if we can sneak that in.
That's perfect timing, actually. Yes.
Okay. First up is Patrick Klein from the Gardens on El Paseo.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, City Manager, and staff. I'm here today, and might I just preface things by saying it's pretty hard to follow up that very, very great show of appreciation and gratitude for our city heroes that came in and really helped bail us out of a lot of binds on the day of the great storm, otherwise known as Tropical Storm Hillary. But I'm here to tell my brief story, mind you, on the experience that we shared as a business member of the community through the eyes of the Gardens on El Paseo. As a management team of that shopping center facility, we like to pride ourselves in our emergency preparation and response work that we do on an ongoing basis. So on the days leading up to the storm, as we were tracking it, when it was in a hurricane-like state, the 2 days prior, I mean, we felt pretty good about what we had done. We had checked emergency supplies. We had filled over 250 sandbags. We had our generators tested and they were running. Same with our water pumps. So we had tested them and they were running. We thought we were ready for the big storm. On Sunday around noon is when I started to see that this thing was really finally coming. And so I hopped in my car realizing I had a very short window of time to decide whether the captain was going to get over to his ship to go down with it if need be, or if I was going to get stuck at home and try and handle things from a control tower element, which is not ideal in those types of circumstances. So off I went to the property, and it was not easy to navigate. The storm started setting in really hard at 1 o'clock. I got to the property about 1:15 p.m. that day. And I'm telling you, if I was a few minutes later, I would not have made it there. That's the streets were just getting overrun with water. So we quickly took to starting to prep our pumps and our generators, and as we were doing so, the property started to fill up with water. Our lawn area had turned into a small swimming pool, and it was only taking on more and more water to the extent there we had some serious concern we were going to have mass casualty of our retail partners and the first level occupants of the buildings. So as we started to fire up our water pumps, wouldn't you know it, they wouldn't start. So now for a little bit of panic mode. And I've quickly taken inventory of what my options were, and I quickly pivoted to our partners at the city. I sent a note to Eric Seha, who good friend and great professional partner. He was quick to respond to me and said, well, I let him know we're taking on water. Our pumps are not working. We're pretty soon here going to be in deep, deep trouble. So he liaised with Martin Alvarez, and wouldn't you know it, within an hour, they were able to send support services. And mind you, pretty remarkable because, I mean, here we are, we're one of many businesses. The city's got so many fish to fry and not enough time to cook them. And so for us to get that level of response, and as I mentioned, within an hour, we had a public works team that mobilized on property with their pumps, and away they went starting to pump our facility. And Without their efforts, I don't even really want to begin to think of what things would have looked like in the aftermath of the storm. By the grace of God, once they arrived with their pump, we finally got our pumps to start working. So off we went. We were all working hand in hand and getting things done. And so I think we saved ourselves, thanks to the city, from a major catastrophic event. We, of course, did incur some pretty substantial damage to the property, but it could have been a lot worse. So in close, I just want to share the Gardens on El Paseos and my personal sincere gratitude and appreciation for this city team, specifically the Public Works team, and more specifically, the individuals of Eric, Martin, Elias, Jesus G, Brad, Francisco, and Raphael for their boots on the ground effort on our property that day. Thank you guys very much.
And thank you for taking time to come and express those thoughts. Also from the Public Works Department at Indian Wells, Ken Zumalo.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Ken Samal. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of Indian Wells. Along with the other grateful residents and business owners of the community, as a neighbor of yours, I want to express my sincere appreciation and gratitude for your Public Works staff. As you know, we suffered our proportional share of Tropical Storm Hillary. We had to shut down Fred Waring because of the debris that overflowed the roadway. And in an effort to clean rapidly, we had to close the street down. I contacted your Public Works Director, Martin Alvarez, and he, without hesitation, offered some assistance with signage to help us close the roadway. And we were able to utilize his team to notify the traveling public of what was going on. And we were able to do our cleaning and get the road back open in rapid time. This is actually the second time I'm here to express my appreciation for the City Council and the staff of Palm Desert. You guys are great neighbors, and I appreciate working in this community, specifically Public Works Director to Public Works Director, his team to my team. We make a great partner. Thank you very much. And thank you to your staff.
And thank you for taking your time to express those thoughts. Ms. Lawrence, are you ready to jump back into action?
I am back. So thank you again, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. We do have Paulina Larson with us from Palm Springs Life, and she will be giving you this great presentation about the city's 50th anniversary event. So at this time, I'd like to call up Paulina Larson.
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, Mayor and council members. I want to start off by thanking you for entrusting Palm Springs Life to produce your 50th anniversary event. It is truly an honor for our company to have this opportunity to bring this event forward. Without further ado, I am here to provide you with an update as to where we are with your celebration. Some quick event recaps, if we can go to the next slide, sorry. Some quick event details. The event is taking place on Saturday, November 18th of this year. The time of the event will start at 3 p.m., programming till 10 p.m. And the location is, of course, your beautiful Palm Desert Civic Center. And the expected attendance is 7 to 10,000. On the next slide, please. You'll see the event name and branding that's been brought forward to the subcommittee for review. On screen specifically, you'll see our print ad. And this is the start of many elements for this event. I think you will notice here on this graphic that we utilize the City of Palm Desert's 50-year logo that you've been running in your marketing promotion. We felt it was important from a marketing standpoint to keep that celebration going, but also layer in and really make the Party in the Park, which is the official event name, a focal point of this campaign. As you scroll through the other slides and graphics, you'll see how this campaign will transition both from print to digital to printed collateral. A couple things to know in the branding and then the marketing of this piece. It is really important for us to be able to showcase that this is, oops, if you could go back, please. If you could go back. Yeah, thank you. I think it's very important for us to highlight that this is an all-day event celebration, programming from 3 to 10 p.m. as mentioned previously, that it is free and open to all and not just Palm Desert residents, and I'll get into the marketing in just a few minutes. We are focusing by outlining the programming by party by day, party by night, and really taking a concert poster approach to really be able to lead into the art installations that will take place, the live music, the entertainment, as well as Taste of Palm Desert, Base of Palm Desert, and all those items that are really going to bring this event to life. And I'll get into explanations of those things in just a minute. Another thing to mention too, in our creative, we are going to be proposing that all of our campaign promos have a QR code, as well as a dedicated event landing page, which you can go to the next slide, please. And this dedicated landing page is really meant to be a resource for people who see this event be marketed to be able to find information about programming, specifically what artists are coming, both entertainment and visual artists, performing artists, what the experience might be like, any relevant information as ADA access, parking, and so forth, to really be able to tell the entire story of what's to come, but again, make the event accessible to people. So we are going to be working on launching this website on October 1st and working closely with your marketing team here with the city, but being able to have a hub and being able to drive as much visitation and traffic to the center. And being able to really story tell within this website. And I'll show you examples of that in the upcoming slides. And we can go to the next one. One of our ideas that we're really excited about is storytelling. Of course, as publishers, we are storytellers. But on screen here, you will see a double-sided tailboard, and it's 40 feet long, 8 feet tall. And our idea came here from an archaeological tale. And as you probably know, archaeologists dig underground and look at the sediment lines to tell the history. We kind of decided to take a similar approach, but instead of doing a tailboard underground, we are proposing we do an above ground tailboard. And this will be telling the story of Palm Desert through written words and images of both contemporary and historical images. One side will have a city timeline that is being written and developed and researched by our editorial team with, again, historical and new information. And the other side is where we'll have a great community engagement by going out into the community, both individuals and businesses, to share how they lived in the city with opportunity to post photos. So this is one of those initiatives where our goal is to showcase the history of Palm Desert, but also let people tell us their history within the city, and using this larger than life activation. So we're really excited. There's a lot of proposed use for the content that we're developing, because as you see it here, it's going to be placed during the event, but we really love to have the opportunity to start teasing out some of that history on social media, on other media outlets as well, a great PR opportunity, and being able to take that timeline and be able to put it together with all the efforts that are being set in place for the 50th anniversary. On the next slide, we're going to talk about entertainment. And as you all know, we're going to be activating the Palm Desert Amphitheater. These are our headliners that we are going to be announcing here on October 1st. The first one is Roy's Royce, which is a funky soul, rhythm, and blues party band. They emanated in popularity in the 70s, and they had a hit. I don't know if anybody can remember what that hit was. Okay, good. Okay, so at the car wash, I was supposed to sing it, but I don't think I'm up for it right now. And I will save you from that too. But the second band, the second band that is going to be headlining for us is actually an international touring band and Thompson Square. They're kind of a bit of country, folk, and rock. So we're really excited that to have that diverse music genre. And then also having Brant Bajorn, the Unsound, and Fatson Jensen. And the great thing about these three rock bands is that they are touring bands and have members who are from the city of Palm Desert. So again, really doing that tie-in. And as you all know, with the history here, we have so many great artists who really grew up in Palm Desert. So having the ability to have them be part of this event is really special to do. Now, the programming that you see here is really going to start at 6 p.m. and take us through the evening. However, we will be animating the amphitheater starting at 3 o'clock. So we will have other musical and performing arts by other partners, such as like the McCallum Theater we're working with, and hopefully the Living Desert. So we are completely animating it, and we'll come back to you with the full lineup. Right now, it was important for us to secure our headliners and be able to go to market to them and get those audiences and their fans to come. And then we'll, again, continue to build that community as part of the amphitheater activations. But, you know, one of the things is that we want to make sure that there's something for everybody at this event in terms of entertainment, in terms of music, and that there is a diverse music for all of the audiences, depending on whatever time they choose to come, if it's at 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or 10 p.m. We want to make sure that we have something for everybody. The next slide, please. We will also have roaming entertainment. We have such a beautiful park, and we're going to be activating throughout the entire most of the footprint. And so for us, we felt that it was important for us to have roaming entertainment. And as you can see here on some of the images, we are going to have day entertainment as well as evening and roaming entertainment. So in the evening, LED, so you can really see that through the park. During the day, magicians and so forth, and they'll be making their way through the park, again, animating and getting the energy in the event. Next page, please. The other really important part, and another favorite part of the event, is the artist lineup that we've been able to secure. Art, of course, is an important element. I've seen the efforts that the city of Palm Desert has done in terms of your art efforts. And so for us, we wanted to ensure that it was an important part and meaningful part to this event. And so we've secured Christopher Chachowski, who is an American multidisciplinary artist, to do an immersive multisensory video experience starting at dusk throughout the event. And if you probably have seen his work, he most recently did an exhibit like the one we're proposing at Coachella. And I think if you go to the next slide, there's a sample of his most recent work. So this is incredible. So for people to come experience that at dusk through the night is really exciting. And he's a top tier artist. If I can have you go back to the other slide, please. The other artist that we're going to be bringing on is Ryan Campbell, who's also a Palm Desert resident, and he will be presenting a sculptural immersive experience called The Chamber. And so we'll be working with him on getting it placed in your park and allowing event attendees to enjoy. And there'll be an interactive experience with that as well that we're working on. The other artist that we've secured, it's Pete Salcido. And if you don't know him, he is the owner of Flat Black Art Studio in Palm Desert. He is currently working on developing an 80-foot interactive mural. And he's a very interesting artist and really has some really great ideas to really build this mural. And it's not going to be a finished mural. It's going to be an interactive mural that he's going to allow attendees to come in and help create. So we're really excited to see the fabrication and then obviously the activation and engagement at the event. We look at these three artists and their proposals, and we really feel that these are larger than life exhibitions that they're going to be bringing forth and interactive experiences that I think are going to be memorable for attendees. Thank you. Next slide. Kids Zone, that's also a very important part of the event. We are currently working on activating a certain part of the park, which is close to the playground, where we'll have activities from 3 to 10 p.m. We're not closing the Kids Zone at night because there might be kids who want to stay late or parents who want to have their kids hang out there. So we want to have throughout the day interactive experiences such as a children's mural. So we also want to bring that art element into the Kids Zone. We want to have an inflatable obstacle course, and we've been working with the Firebirds to see if they can assist us in the development of that inflatable. So that's something to come. A puppet show. So there's also programming outside of the Palm Desert Amphitheater that they can enjoy, interactive games and arts and crafts. And when I mention these kids activations, and I want you to know that we are partnering up with the YMCA, with Old Town Arts the Studios, with other art and children organizations that are in Palm Desert or in our valley to really help us with the programming, because they are the experts. They know the type of programming that kids want, and we want to really enhance the type of activities and experiences that they create within their organization. So really looking forward to the Kids Zone. Next slide. Thank you. In addition to the wonderful premium food trucks that will be there for guests to enjoy, and wine and beer gardens that we're proposing also animate the event, we are launching something called Taste of Palm Desert. And really, Taste of Palm Desert is going to be an area where we have a select amount of beloved Palm Desert restaurants. The list on the right is just a partial list, but we want to invite these restaurants and others that are not on this list to come and have the ability to celebrate the city that they do business in and celebrate the people that they serve, as well as have this be a marketing opportunities for them in terms of promoting their business, but also direct sales. We are allowing them to come in and sell food in addition to the food trucks. With this many expected attendance, we felt that having that additional food and being careful in terms of bringing Palm Desert restaurants to animate is going to really elevate the event. So our team is meeting with a lot of these restaurant owners as we speak, and in earlier conversations with some of them, they've said, absolutely, I love being in the city of Palm Desert. We're going to do something. We don't know what, but we're going to tell you soon. So I just want to say that, 3 calls and all of them said that. It really must feel, it's nice. So wanted to share that. And keep in mind, a lot of these restaurants, they don't really have pop-ups to sell food, and for them to say, oh, we're going to figure it out, we're going to do this, felt really good. So that's something you should know about. Next item, we have Best of Palm Desert. So another area that we are developing within this event is our Best of Palm Desert. And the purpose of this area would be to really have the opportunity to approach partners within the city that are important, such as our educational institutions like College of the Desert and Cal State San Bernardino, to come and talk about and have resources, collateral about what they offer for students. We also want to bring in the Palm Desert Historical Society to really be able to tell a little bit about the history and what they do. There's also other members that we know are near and dear, the Citizens on Patrol. This could be a great outreach mechanism for them in terms of getting more. Riverside County Sheriff's Department as another one as well. So we are going through and working with Shelby and Amy as to who are some of those important partners, and inviting them to activate if it makes sense for them and they have the ability. But we think that this will be another dynamic area for attendees to really be able to meet other Palm Desert businesses and what they have to offer. In our next slide, This is our proposed partners and sponsors list. We are going after sponsorship as well with the amount of media and activation opportunities that this event has. It does present an opportunity for businesses to want to sponsor this event or within elements of these events. So we started an initial list and we've already been meeting with some of these businesses, and I think it's been really good because all of them want to support, and a lot of them have different business goals and marketing goals. And so we are working with each one of them to create customizable opportunity. And just like Black Art Supply, you know, in conversations with him, we knew we wanted him to be an artist. So it didn't go the sponsorship route, but again, he interacted with us in a different way. And so we're really excited and hope to come back to you later to really break down exactly what their activation is going to look like. But this is a partial list, and our team and myself are working through meeting with everybody. And then lastly, the marketing and PR. We are scheduled to launch October 1st of this year, and the marketing and public relations strategy is really going to encompass television spots. We just secured a wonderful partnership with KESQ, so we will be playing across all of their networks. We're really excited about that. Again, being able to showcase everything that the event has to offer. So we'll be working on developing a television spot. Radio, we have secured a really great partnership with Todd Marker Broadcasting. So we are going to be running radio promotions, and I had one to play today, but unfortunately the sound wasn't working, but we will be on at least 5 radio stations across genres starting on October 1st. Print, obviously Palm Springs Live is committed to supporting this event through all of our channels and publications. We'll also be approaching the Desert Sun and other media outlets to come in and help us promote this event. Social media, an important element, not only, you know, our media partners' social media, but also working within your PR team and marketing team to make sure that we're providing the assets needed to promote via the city's social media channels and efforts. Partner media, that's a big thing for us. With all of our partners, we want to ensure that they have a full press kit so they are able to promote that they are supporting this event, they are part of this event. So our partner kits will include logos, promotional collateral, printed and digitally. So we see all of our restaurants who are participating, distributing rack cards to their restaurants so they can use them as check stuffers and posters and such. And of course, public relations. We think there's a big story to be told here. And I think the Large Tailboard initiative and the contents that will come out of that from both our editorial team based on the history, but as well as what people are going to share with us, will be a really good opportunity for us to talk to media outlets and get coverage of the history and also on this event. We're really excited. So what I just shared with you encompasses a lot of the elements that we are working on. And again, we can't thank you enough for entrusting us with this event. And if you have any questions or feedback, I'm all ears.
No, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
And we need to move to item 15B. The second public hearing must be taken out of order because the law requires us to notice this at a specific time and to address the topic as close to that time as possible. So moving to item 15B, Palm Desert Redistricting 2023 public hearing number 1 to receive input from the community regarding the redrawing of election district boundaries. I will open the public hearing. And we will receive the report.
Madam Mayor and City Council, before I begin, I'll do the housekeeping remarks for anybody who's participating on Zoom. For those on Zoom, if you want to participate in public comment, please click the raise hand button on your computer or smartphone. If you are joining by calling in on your phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand, and when called upon, press *6 to unmute yourself. And then please keep your comments to no more than 3 minutes after we do the presentation. Honorable Mayor and City Council, I am here to present to you on the Palm Desert redistricting process, and I'm joined by Shalise Tilton of NDC if you have any technical questions. For background, the council on June 22nd provided direction to have staff take the necessary steps to transition to 5 single-member districts prior to the November 2024 election. And then related to public education and outreach, on August 24th, the City Council unanimously adopted the redistricting public education and outreach plan. The purpose of this public hearing is to inform the public about the redistricting process and to hear from the community about what factors should be taken into consideration when creating district maps. The public is requested to provide input regarding communities of interest and other local factors to be considered while drafting maps. Here you'll see the existing 2-district configuration that we have. When we are working on these maps, these are the criteria which must be followed. The first priority is federal law, which requires that the districts have equal population and no racial gerrymandering. Under California law, and these are the priority order, the first issue is to ensure that the districts are geographically contiguous, i.e. they should not be any islands when it comes to these districts. They need to be touching each other. The second is minimizing division of neighborhoods and communities of interest, and we'll go over that in a little bit more detail. Easily identifiable boundaries. And then last is compactness, ensuring that we don't bypass one group of people to get to a more distant group of people. And then it is prohibited that we shall not favor or discriminate against a political party. Once those 2 top criteria have been factored in, the city can consider respect of the voter's choice, which would mean to avoid unnecessary pairing of incumbents and future population growth. When it comes to communities of interest, possible features defining communities of interest might include, but are not limited to, school attendance areas, natural dividing lines such as major roads, hills, and highways, common issues, neighborhood activities, or legislative election concerns, areas around parks and other neighborhood landmarks, and then shared demographic information such as similar levels of income, education, or linguistic isolation, languages spoken at home, single family and multifamily housing unit areas. When it comes to public participation, we are asking the public to provide input at an upcoming community workshop or public hearing. At the workshops, we will have Spanish and ASL interpreters on site. And then for the City Council public hearings, Spanish and ASL interpreters are available upon request. The public is welcome to submit any written comments in person or via email. They can contact the city clerk's office to subscribe for an email update regarding the upcoming meetings. We are asking the public to submit any draft maps by November 1st for City Council consideration on November 16th. And then the public is welcome to contact the city clerk's office to request a presentation at any civic or community group meetings. And I'd be happy to do that. And my contact information is provided on this slide. When it comes to future meetings, what of importance, September 28th at 4:30 will be another public hearing here in the council chambers to hear the public input on factors that should be considered while drafting maps. And just for clarity, state law requires that we conduct at least 2 public hearings pre-map. So we're not able to show any maps until the September 28th hearing is completed. On October 4th and 16th at 5 p.m., we'll have map drawing workshops on Zoom. On November 1st is the deadline to submit maps. And then on November 16th at 4:30, there will be another public hearing for presentation of all the maps that have been submitted, and the council will be requested to select focus maps if they're prepared to do so. You may have noticed that we did receive public comment today from one person, and I did want to provide a response to the questions that were asked. As it relates to, is the city drawing 5 districts or 4 districts? And for the council's awareness, these responses have been reviewed by the city attorney's office as well as the demographer. The city is creating 5 single-member district electoral system. However, District 1 was readjusted following the 2020 census and is expected to stay intact. Therefore, this is primarily an exercise in dividing District 2 into 4 smaller districts. As it relates to the question, what does the city council have discretion to adjust District 1? The CVRA requires that the city implement an effective district-based system that provides the protected class the opportunity to elect candidates of its choice from single-member districts. Consistent with the CVRA and the city settlement agreement, District 1 was drawn to maximize Latino voting age population, which is reached at 44.81%, and was population rebalanced following the 2020 census. As noted in past meetings in the demographer's preliminary best efforts, it was discovered that any adjustments to District 1 result in diluting Latino voting age population, which would mean reducing their percentage in the district, which risk violating the CVRA and settlement agreement. This could render the map vulnerable to legal challenge. If the demographer or a community map drawer can create a map which improves the Latino voting age population in District 1, it is possible such map could be adopted. And then the third is, what kind of risk is incurred if the criteria prioritization isn't perfect? The prioritization of the criteria is clearly outlined in state law, but the definitions of those criteria are subject to considerable local interpretation and application. What qualifies as a neighborhood or a community of interest is highly subjective. That is why the law requires public hearings to gather public input on those definitions. What qualifies as an easily understood boundary could be debatable, and what counts as bypassing one group of people to get to another group of people can be highly influenced by local factors and geography. Clear failure to honor these priorities could render the map vulnerable to legal challenge. With that, staff's recommendation is to conduct the public hearing to receive public input on district boundaries and to receive and file a report on the redistricting process and permissible criteria to be considered when redrawing district boundaries. And then, of course, the public is always welcome to reach out to me for any questions or to schedule a presentation. Thank you.
All right, do we have any public comment at this time? We have no request to speak from those present. Do we have any request to speak from Zoom participants?
I see no raised hands in the Zoom room, Madam Mayor.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion to receive and file the report?
I motion to receive and file.
I'll second that.
Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And take a sip of water now. Quite a few words. Anything further from city manager comments?
Not at this time, Mayor. Thank you.
We'll continue with mayor and council member reports and requests for action, starting with council member Nastande.
Thank you, Mayor. At the CVAG Energy and Environmental Resources meeting, our very own Amy Lawrence gave a presentation regarding the Mylar balloons that the city had voted on and presented it to the CVAG board, and they've decided to go with promoting educational campaign as an option. However, the CVAG Safety Committee adopted our ordinance exactly. So I believe on Monday, September 25th, at the executive CVAG meeting, it will be discussed further. So that's the update.
Mayor Pro Tem Quintanilla.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Following up on the issue of Mylar at the Public Safety Committee meeting, it did receive unanimous approval, and one of the members made a further recommendation that we should inform the school districts in regards to the policy, since there are a lot of balloons that get tied at the end of graduation, and to help reduce that. Some fun stuff, the Cultural Arts Committee, we did meet, and there's a call for artists for the El Paseo Sculpture Exhibition. It will open in October and conclude in February. And the art installation that's in the lobby of the Desert Recreation District, Recreation Liberates, needs to find a new home or be demolished because of the building renovations. So if anybody out there happens to want to adopt it, the cost of removal is all you would need to cover for $20,000. Since that is not likely, someone in the audience, the committee has requested if we can get mayoral approval or staff support in putting that out there and the Bright Side or online or whatever it would take to do so. Children's Discovery Museum, a scheduling reopening is for March 25th. Donations are still being accepted, but now we have a date. And let's see, that was the Mylar. Public safety, also with CVAG, we talked about the emergency management and how the county and all of the cities were able to have a coordinated effort, as we did here too, our successes, our challenges, and future opportunities. And last but not least, bonus yesterday, I got to see the staff scavenger hunt. So a lot of kudos to the department managers and supervisors that facilitated that. It was great to see the discussions and negotiations with one another and how that applies to the way that they do their everyday jobs. That was a lot of fun to watch. And last, not so fun one is bugs. So we've got a bug in the name of mosquitoes. Be sure that you check around your area. You can have natural ways to avoid them with marigolds or other plants. And we did see also that there is a not so fun one of scorpions. So please look around your home, the invasive one. And another bug you can't see, flu shots are available and other, spurs and COVID or whatnot. So let's be sure that we are aware of that. And I would like to request for consideration, following up on other topics, since the city is undergoing the request for the objective standards review, if it could be included in the landscape plan to specifically exclude the Ceridium Palo Verde, which is the one that has been falling over. And that's the one that's a little brighter, grows a little taller, but in growing faster, the bark is not as stable. So for those present, I wanted to give the reasoning of why that Palo Verde versus another, but that is actually it.
Councilmember Druby.
All right, thank you. This past Friday, I had an opportunity to take a tour of Desert Arc, led by Angelique Ontiveros, their Director of Business Services, and I hadn't been there in probably 25 years. And I just took it upon myself. I thought, it's a great organization. Our city is home to it. And I got to tell you, it was absolutely eye-opening. They have over 275 employees. They serve over 700 residents from all over the Coachella Valley. And it just, the breadth and scope of their services that they provide for people really who may not have anywhere else to go is just so heartwarming and beautiful. And if you have a chance to support them, I recommend you do. It's a really wonderful organization that's doing great things. And you wouldn't know it, how extensive their services are when you pass by it there on Country Club Monterey. It just looks like a modest building, but it extends all the way back. And that was really, really a wonderful experience. I'm looking forward to 3 more years of helping them. And had a chance to attend the Food and Wine Festival this past Saturday. It was it was about 110 degrees, if you remember, but I was really, really pleasantly surprised at the turnout and what a great job our staff did. And I know USA Today hosted that event or sponsored. And even at 110 degrees, the turnout was great. Great energy. I know they're eager to come back next year, hopefully in November. So that's my report. Thank you.
Councilmember Arnick.
Thank you. Was that on? That is on now. Okay, thank you. My light is off. My indicator light is not functioning, so I can't always tell. A couple things at the Coachella Valley Association of Governments we did at Transportation Committee really talk about the results of the storm events that we have had, both of them, both the tropical storm and then the monsoon event that we also had. And we really fared very well considering the amount, the Mission Creek issue. I mean, it's been devastating for many people, but when you consider there were at the top of Mission Creek, 13 inches of rain in 9 hours. So that's what came down and that's what caused our destruction. But because of the infrastructure that has been put in place by the city of Palm Desert, we fared really well. We learned a lot about it. We can do better next time, and I know we will. But that was interesting to hear it from the from transportation. We had somebody from the Riverside flood control come talk to us about it, and CVWD, of course. Another note for the Southern California Association of Governments. Although the last week, this would be hard to believe because we've had so much dust in the air, but the Southern California Association of Governments, which is the 6 southernmost counties in Southern California and excluding San Diego, so it's that huge region, got its clean air designation again, which is not an easy designation to get. But once again, they achieved it, and they achieved it because of their regional transportation plan, their alternate energy efforts, and they are agnostic as far as the type of energies, clean energies that are used, but they are making great progress with those efforts. And also things like our Go Human events, which resulted in San Pablo. So because of those type of events and what it has helped us with a reduction in GHG, not nearly where we want to be, but we're moving in the right direction, we did get a clean air designation. So thank you.
I have a due request for action. The first concerns are utility bills. This is September. So we're all still shaking a bit from having opened our electric bills the last 2 months. Most of us are aware that the Edison bill has 2 components. Half of the bill roughly is the cost of the energy. The other portion is the cost of delivering that energy. I've heard from several residents who've pulled their old bills and observed that both components have nearly doubled in the last 5 years. So folks are fairly empathetic that energy costs whatever Edison has to pay for that generation. But they're very curious to know why the cost of delivery has risen at the same rate. So I would ask staff to coordinate with our Edison representatives to make a presentation at a future meeting that would focus particularly on the delivery portion of our bills and what sorts of new investments that is supporting here within Palm Desert or the Coachella Valley. And I think residents would appreciate that being part of an open session presentation as opposed to a study session. Would others support that?
I support.
Yes.
Okay, can we make that happen? The other request for action concerns a potential property use. We've requested a reexamination of zoning and overlays as they affect our downtown area. And that is in process. It's been brought to our attention that a particular property owner would very much like to consider the potential use of a vet clinic at an address on Highway 111, which is not currently permitted. And time seems to be of the essence. So I have consulted staff about the most expedient way to perhaps facilitate at least the possibility of this use. Because we have found in other circumstances that some uses beyond retail do help to draw potential customers to our shopping core. So with input from staff, I would like to request that we agendize at a future meeting the possibility of amending the text on permitted uses in that vicinity so as to make a vet clinic a conditional use, which would be possible under specified conditions and approvals. Is there support for?
I support.
Did I get that right?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. That includes our council member reports and requests for action. I want to take non-agenda public comment and the consent calendar, and then we'll take a brief break. So this is the time for comments on items which are not on today's agenda. You have up to 3 minutes to speak. Because we're required to give notice of topics about which we will deliberate, we can't engage in full discussion. And Anthony, would you please repeat the instructions for those on Zoom?
For those on Zoom, if you want to participate in public comment, please click the raise hand button on your computer or smartphone. If you're joining by calling in on your phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand, and when called upon, press *6 to unmute yourself.
Thank you. Our first contributor is Kenneth Doran.
I'm sorry, I have this one lady. She's been waiting for a while, so I'll let her go first.
Please, sir, please.
Okay.
Just be efficient and that will help us all.
Okay, all right. On July, I think it was around July 16th, I had called and made an appointment to see the city manager. This obviously this creation of 5 districts, it's going to really change the fundamentals of running for office here in the city of Palm Desert. And one of the things I perceive is that you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to shake some hands. You're going to have to meet people. And obviously I know that's what you did as well. So I started doing that. I started going and meeting some of my neighbors and so forth, so on. And then I started getting questions which I did not have the answers to. So I made an appointment to see the city manager regarding this subject that this one lady had brought up to me. And I spoke with his secretary, very sweet lady, and then all of a sudden, a week later, I came in, receptionist, very sweet. And all of a sudden I meet the city manager, and he was just not only rude, but he was just trying to start a fight with me. And I never met this man before in my life. So again, I think, I need to be able to get information from city staff. And if I'm being prevented from that from the city manager, then I think that's going to defeat my ability to be successful in doing this. So you'll be receiving a letter, perhaps, hopefully by the end of next week, but might be the following week. And again, I will outline some of the problems that I have incurred and again, requested solutions to that subject. And so that's really all I have to say at this point in time.
Lydia Duran.
Hello, Honorable Mayor and City Council. So I am a resident of Spanish Walk down in Northeast Palm Desert. I'm a victim of the storm. I am 100% displaced from my home. I have been in communication with the city several times when this first happened. Being displaced from my home, I had no resources from anybody other than to pay out of pocket. But I had been told that the city would be helping, so forth and so on, and to no avail. I was asked to call 211. They absolutely did not have any resources, financial resources for that. So now we're 4 weeks out. I am in debt for 4 weeks of short-term accommodations. And I'm out quite a bit of money from taking proactive role of mitigating my own property so that I would avoid additional damage to the property. I have been asking the city, the county. I have talked to Ken Calvert. I have talked to Raul Reese. Well, not talked to them, but to their staffers. I reached out to Dianne Feinstein. I've reached out to Alex Padilla. I reached out to Governor Newsom to find out where are we going to be funded to be able to rebuild our homes. We are now out, some of us are out quite a bit of money out of pocket for what happened. I mean, this is of no cost or no fault of ours, right? It was a freak storm that happened to come through here. We all live in an area that is not covered by flood insurance, that we do not need flood insurance. So none of us had flood insurance, and our flood insurances have just gone, sorry, your problem type of a thing. And, you know, we're sitting on pins and needles wanting to know what's going to happen. I mean, are we going to get funding here? And I'm coming to you as our representative for the city. I don't know if any of you have even taken an opportunity to go and see, maybe at the beginning when it did happen, it was horrible. And I encourage you to continue to go out there and visit with some of the other residents that live there that are not very happy that, you know, we're kind of been left. We feel like pagan children these days because no one is communicating. No one is telling us anything. We don't know anything. And we're sitting on our hands because we don't know if we're going to get the money to rebuild these houses. And these are condominiums, by the way. Our area is condominiums. So, you know, I bought my house a year and a half ago because that was going to be my retirement home. I don't know if it will be. I may have to walk away from it and just leave it because I don't have $150,000 to rebuild it sitting in the bank. So, you know, I'm imploring you, Honorable Mayor, to please help us get some answers of what is going to happen. What are the next steps for us? Because this is you know, these are our lives that have been completely disrupted as a result of this storm. Thank you.
It is deeply concerning, and I assure you that the city is working with county, state, and federal representatives to try to represent the interests of you and the others who have suffered these damages. Linda Lester, I know you're here to speak about the same topic.
Oh, good afternoon. I won't take up the 3 minutes. I would like to reiterate what Lydia has said. We're actually neighbors. My situation might be a little bit worse than Lydia's. I woke up on the Monday of the event after sleeping all night and thinking about my diagnosis of cancer that I just got, and put my feet on the ground and the water was up to my ankles.
Mm.
And as I walked around the house wondering what, there was only one little spot on the couch where I could sit with my little dog, make a couple of phone calls, and then I was evacuated. So we've gone through something I wouldn't wish my worst enemy go through, because this is our life. I'm 77 years old. I have a semi-retired. I have a part-time job. I have a little home office where I work for a orthopedic surgeon doing medical transcription. I came to Palm Desert 10 years ago, 2013, and had no plans of leaving. This point in my life, I wanted to give back to the community because the community did so much for me. I love it here. I love it here. I hate the summers, but I love it here. And I also want to thank all of the people involved in my story. There were times that I was frustrated and possibly used the wrong language or the wrong attitude. Chris, I apologize for that. I really do. This was a time not only for us as devastated homeowners who lost their homes, but for all of you who were working, bumping into each other, trying to make sense of probably one of the craziest, most insane episodes of your work career. I would say so. And I wanted to thank you all for what you've done, what hopefully you're doing. And just to say what Lydia said, I am using up my 3 minutes. We need help. We need help. And I need good health. Health and help is what I need. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much for coming. Nancy Gutierrez.
Good afternoon, City Council members and the mayor. I'm a little nervous and please excuse me. This might be a little bit of a delicate subject, but I've been following the news and I was highly encouraged by what I heard about the City Council of Huntington Beach. I don't know if you're aware what just happened there. They passed, they took it to a vote, they discussed it, and they went ahead and passed a new law that bans all future mask and vaccine mandates. We're not talking about someone's personal choice, but this is about a mandate where someone does not have a choice. And I believe that this particular issue with the mask and the vaccines, all human beings are different, and there is no way that we can have a cookie cutter for our healthcare and for who might have adverse events. And I'm hoping that maybe this city council can bring this up in the upcoming agenda and discuss and maybe possibly vote on this. I'm sure there's plenty of other people that might agree with me. I know it's a very delicate subject, but I believe that this is a personal choice matter more so than needing a mandate again. And I hope you will consider it, and I hope that you can possibly add it on the agenda, the upcoming agenda. My brother lives in Huntington Beach, and I've just been so encouraged to hear this. I hope that we can do the same. I've lived here for at least 30 years myself. I'm from Orange County, and I love Palm Desert. I live in South Palm Desert. And again, I hope you'll consider that. And I hope I said this in a kind manner because I know it's a very delicate subject. So thank you for your time.
Barbara Wasserkrug.
My name is Barbara Wasserkrug, and I would like to thank the mayor and the city council for allowing me to give them and the residents of Palm Desert an update on my city council talk on July 13th of this year regarding the lease and installation of the 101 Flock Smart Machine Learning, Data Mining, Artificial Intelligence, Surveillance, License Plate Reader cameras in Palm Desert. One of my main concerns at that time, and still is the invasion of our privacy, security, and autonomy. Since that date, I have corresponded with several of the city officials asking more questions and requesting additional information regarding what they have reviewed, discussed, and considered to ensure privacy of the residents, and also the many problems as well as negative information that they have reviewed regarding the surveillance cameras before signing the agreement with Flock. Unfortunately, I have only received all generic Flock safety profile information furnished by Flock themselves via the city, which one could say were biased in favor of Flock. And when my request was sent to the Riverside County Sheriff, I received multiple responses stating that the department had redacted or taken the information out for privacy reasons, or that the records are exempt because the information does not serve the public interest. I would like the city council and residents to hear the important questions that were not answered. Number one, what potentially negative information was provided to the administrative personnel who make decisions for approving contracts such as Flock Safety? Number two, I requested copies of the research provided which led to the approval of the Flock Safety contract to include any negative comments, narratives, or documents. Three, I requested information regarding if there had been any actions or lawsuits past, current, or pending against the city of Palm Desert or Sheriff's Department involving or related to Flock Safety LPR's camera systems since its implementation. From my communication via email and letter to the city of Palm Desert and the Riverside County Sheriff's Department since July 13th, it appears there has been no discussion or consideration of the many Flock machine camera errors, mistakes, and flaws. Besides the few I have already previously mentioned, a few more to ponder would be per Flock's own safety and privacy propaganda information. It states, quote, personal information provided by users may be used for marketing and promotional purposes only by Flock and its subsidiaries and affiliates. Number two, quote, while we use all reasonable efforts to safeguard the confidentiality of the information, Flock will have no liability for disclosure of any information obtained due to the errors in transmission or the unauthorized acts of third parties. Three, quote, we may share your personal information with our.
I apologize, your time has expired.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Michelle Villanueva. Is Michelle here? Pedro Reyes.
I'll keep it brief. Good afternoon, honorable mayor and council members. My name is Pedro Reyes, a resident of the Spanish Walk community. I'm here today to briefly express my gratitude for the city's swift and effective response in the aftermath of Hurricane Hillary, which flooded my home. During this unfortunate incident, I happened to be away in work commitments. Upon contacting the Public Works Department, I was relieved to hear that the city was already engaged in cleaning up our community, ensuring both our safety and accessibility to our homes. Within a short time, our community was restored, which allowed me to begin reconstructing my property following the flood. Therefore, on behalf of myself, my wife, and my 3 kids, thank you for your prompt actions that played a significant role in enabling us to restore our normal life. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any requests to speak from those participating virtually?
No raised hands, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. We will move to the consent calendar, and Mr. Clerk, I believe staff needs to withhold certain items.
Madam Mayor, I would move forward the consent calendar with the exception of item 13L.
And are there items being withdrawn by staff?
Yes, Madam Mayor, city staff is requesting the removal of Housing Authority items 13J, 13K, and 13M as in Mary from the agenda. The Housing Commission meeting was canceled due to lack of quorum, and there is a need for the commission to provide a recommendation prior to the authority's action. And these matters will be re-agendized for the October 12th meeting.
Very good. So shall I take the motion to exclude those as well? Mayor Pro Tem?
May I also pull an item?
Yes.
Sorry, I would like to also pull item 13R from the consent
R.
calendar for discussion.
Okay, we have a motion for all the rest. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
So we will move to item 13L, ratify a change order for contract number C41770 with Riverside County Animal Services in the amount of $58,725 to cover additional costs for field and animal shelter services for the present fiscal year. Did you have a particular question or comment?
I do, Madam Mayor. In regards to the cost of contracting, in especially the concern of how much the cost has grown, I would like to make a request or have the city explore further discussions with the county regarding their mobile bus units. As chair of the Coachella Valley Animal Campus, I was given the figure that with $3,000, the city could sponsor a bus, which would allow for mobile spay, neuter, and microchipping, which would then reduce the number of unwanted pets, the number of pets that we have to sponsor in the shelter. They also mentioned that there are nonprofits and corporations such as PetSmart and Petco that will also provide funding where they will bring forward deworming and flea treatments. So that can also reduce the cost of veterinary services to our residents. So my request is if staff can explore that possibility of putting a $3,000 expense that could potentially save us thousands down the line.
So would you like to move the item with encouragement to staff to explore these options?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move forward item 13L with the request for staff to explore $3,000 for a mobile bus with the Riverside County Animal Shelter.
Is there a second?
May I ask a question? How will that work? So they're going to explore that. Don't you want them to bring it back to us?
Yes, that's the implication.
I didn't
Yeah.
pick up on that implication. That's not what I heard.
The implication is for staff to explore the feasibility of that and to bring that back to us.
You know, I think another important thing that we might want to add into the staff report, the city of Palm Desert has very generous programs to help pet owners. If you adopt a pet, the city reimburses, and then they pay annually for the vaccinations and those sort of things. It would be really helpful if you would include that in when it comes back, because I'm not sure people are aware of that. It would be good to know.
Great. Any other comments? Was there a second?
I'll second it.
Let's vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
And item R is acceptance of a resignation from the Homelessness Task Force and appointments to the Homelessness Task Force and Housing Commission. Did you have a specific comment or question?
I just have a comment. This is my first time through doing committee interviews there now and commission interviews. And I just want to say how impressed I am with the caliber and quality of candidates we're getting. And I just want to, say it out loud and acknowledge these people. Christopher, Davis, Olivia, and Dominic are all excellent candidates that bring a wealth of experience, fresh ideas, energy, enthusiasm, and we're lucky to have them. And it's just one more reason we're a great city. So kudos and thank you, and I'm grateful.
And you are moving the item.
Pardon, yes, I do move. Third
Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, let's be in recess until 5:45. A, consideration of a 3-year sponsorship with Desert Publications, Inc. for Fashion Week El Paseo and Food and Wine Festival, Palm Desert.
Hello again. Amy Lawrence, Deputy Director of Economic Development. And there we go. So I'm here today to discuss the Palm Springs Life Fashion Week El Paseo and Palm Desert Food and Wine 3-year sponsorship request. And go to the next slide. So as far as the history of these events, the Fashion Week El Paseo began in 2006 and has come to be known as the largest consumer fashion week event on the West Coast. And Palm Desert Food and Wine Festival began in 2010 and has earned prestige through its alliance with the James Beard Foundation and inclusion with some of the top celebrity chefs in the country. As far as the city sponsorship, the most recent sponsorship, the 5-year agreement between the city and Palm Springs Life for these two events expired this year. And the previous agreement provided $200,000 for Fashion Week and $100,000 for Palm Desert Food and Wine annually. Palm Springs Life is requesting a new 3-year sponsorship agreement for the same level of support. Funding for the 2024 events was included as part of this fiscal year's budget. As for economic impact, Fashion Week El Paseo, this year saw 5,453 attendees, and 25% of that were from out of the area. And Palm Desert Food and Wine Festival saw 4,043 attendees, with 67% from out of the area. Between both events, it was just under $5 million as calculated in an economic impact as calculated by Palm Springs Life. Today's recommendation, given that Fashion Week El Paseo and Palm Desert Food and Wine Festival are the city's only signature events, and they both bring great value and prestige to our city, staff is recommending continuation of the annual $300,000 sponsorship with Palm Springs Life over the next 3 years. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. I believe we have Thomas Soul available via Zoom, and we also have Paulina Larson with Palm Springs Life if you have questions for them.
Thank you. We had a wonderful presentation shortly after the event, summarizing all of the impacts. So I'm betting we feel pretty well informed. Any questions? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Not a question, but a comment. I wanted to reiterate all of the wonderful economic impacts, but I wanted to recognize the mentorship components that are there. In taking the tour, I was pleased to know that the makeup artists, there's a few of them, but they partner with the local cosmetology students. So they're getting elevated experience for their future jobs, as well as the chefs. They work with the culinary students at the high schools. And so I think that not only do we have the economic impact, but we have an educational impact, which we're always on the lookout for and very proud of. So thank you so much.
Councilmember Troopy, you had a question?
I do. I am a big supporter of this event. I love it. It's great exposure for our city. However, I just want to ask, maybe this better question posed to Paulina, but the $2.1 million economic impact, is that broken down? That's the overall impact or impact that benefits Palm Desert? In other words,
It's the overall impact, I believe, to the Coachella Valley. It's a formula, I believe, from the Greater Palm Springs, from the CVB.
okay.
It's a formula based on a per person that attends the event.
Well, I don't know if we can
Maybe
make,
Paulina can come up and explain it better.
Okay.
Thank you. So we work very closely with Visit Greater Palm Springs, which is obviously the bureau that manages tourism. And so they conduct studies in our marketplace. And one of the studies that they conduct is how much on average visitors spend when they visit this market. And that includes dining, lodging, and that figure is actually very conservative. It's below, I think it's $236. That doesn't include event tickets. And as you all heard in our previous presentation, the price of those tickets are to attract a certain demographic. And so we look at our total attendee number, and then we add in the figure that they would be spending because they're dining out and they're attending an event. And so that's what gives us the total calculation of that economic impact. So to simplify it is total attendees times that number. And I can tell you that the ticket average is about 125. That's more than the average figure without the event ticket. Does that make sense? So really, it's a higher number when they're attending an event because they're buying tickets, they're dining out, and they're attending the event. One figure that we do request or ask in our recap, because we are unable to get the economic impact specifically for Palm Desert, that data is really hard to calculate because people may come from Palm Springs or San Diego. They might be staying at the Kimpton Rowan in Palm Springs and then Palm Desert. So there's no way to break that off. But that's why we do a survey. And in the survey, we ask specific questions. Did you dine out in El Paseo restaurants? Did you shop on El Paseo? So where we can get specific is in that questionnaire. So then we're able to know. And I think in our questions right now, they're specific to El Paseo. So maybe we can edit those questions for 2024 where we say Palm Desert, and then we do an El Paseo one. So then you're able to see how many people dine on the street and then how many are on El Paseo. And we can break that down in categories. But calculating a total economic impact in breaking Palm Desert is tough.
Okay. Yeah, I would ask if possible to get more maybe accurate of the accounting of the direct impact for Palm Desert so we get a more accurate idea of the return on investment.
Yeah,
To some degree, if you can do it in the post-event questionnaire. One other question I have is I noticed through the course of the report that the Pebble Beach and Los Angeles festivals had both folded or failed.
Yeah.
Any idea why? And I'm just curious to know so that we can maybe hopefully avoid some of the same pitfalls.
Yeah, and that's a really great question. Events are very expensive to operate, extremely expensive to operate. When we canceled our event in 2020 as a result of COVID, we had contracts in place and we did ask our talent and all of our partners to hold their rates for us if we were to redo an event. So a lot of people didn't have that in place. They canceled their event and they didn't lock that in. We're fully invested in continuing this signature event within your city. So by us making that move, it allowed us in 2022 when we had the event to retain and be able to afford it. And knowing that we were up against lesser ticket sales and reduced attendance because of the guidelines in place. And so by doing that, it helped us produce an event really in the kind of during COVID, where a lot of other people did not. And people who did not work, talent, chefs, designers, their fees increased almost 7 times because they didn't work for so long. So Curtis Stone's fee alone was incredible, but we had him locked in at that 2020 rate because we knew that we weren't just canceling. We said, we're canceling, but can you hold where we are? And we're very lucky that our talent loves Palm Desert, that they said, we love the experience. Yes, we're going to do it. And I don't think a lot of other event producers saw that. And I think that's another way, but things have gone up. And a lot of the partners that we bring to produce the event are not here. So their fees gone up, but then we have to lodge them and in that, it's very hard. And I know other markets struggle with that as well.
You have a question?
And Paulina, excuse me if it's in here, but I know last year what you did was rather than flipping the tent day, to try and accommodate both on one day, we just did, I think, was it 5 days?
Fashion Week.
Fashion, and then will that be continued?
Yeah. So what we try to do when we built the tent is maximize the use of it. So we're investing the dollars to build the tent. We want to make sure that we're doing Fashion Week and Food and Wine. And so I think for this year, we are going to come in and do our 5 days of Fashion Week and then use the tent for Food and Wine. So that will be similar to that. Again, we want to make sure if it's being built, it's being utilized, capturing different categories and different attendees.
Okay, thank you. I thought that was how it was going to go, but I just wanted to confirm. And I want to make a comment as well, if I may.
I was just going to check for public comment.
Oh,
before
okay,
that.
I'll wait.
Do we have any public comment?
No public comment, Madam Mayor.
Go for it.
There you go. So when we talk about the ROI, and I know it's critically important when we're spending dollars like we are, it is almost impossible to put a dollar figure on what we get out of branding. How much we perpetuate the name of Palm Desert and how much more significance and profile that gives us out in especially our drive market. So when we look at the ROI, it's always important. It's hard to break it down where they're spending, what they're spending, but we know they're spending. And then to be able to raise the profile of our brand is critically important and something that it's almost impossible to get a dollar figure on, but it's worth so much going forward. So I appreciate the events. I think they're just invaluable to our city. And if you wanted me to make a motion right now, I would, Mayor.
Do it.
I did it.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
As wonderful and important as that was, we now come to the highlight of the evening, which is item 14B, appointment of Lori Davis as the Palm Desert Poet Laureate.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. I'm Erica Powell. I work in economic development. On March 9th, a request for direction was brought before you to appoint a Palm Desert Poet Laureate. A recommendation was moved forward to create a subcommittee to discuss and agree on specific parameters for the position, and a call for nominations was released in May and closed in the end of June. 8 qualified individuals applied, and a blind review was conducted by a diverse jury panel. The finalists were invited to UCR Palm Desert for an in-person interview and a poetry performance. The panel unanimously voted Lori Davis and is recommending her as the Palm Desert Poet Laureate for a 1-year term. Lori Davis has lived in Palm Desert for 27 years. She has raised 2 children and established her career here. She is a writer and an English teacher. She holds an MFA in creative writing and is active in local poetry events. The Poet Laureate position will be responsible for writing and reciting poetry in the city of Palm Desert at events such as the Veterans Day event, our 50th anniversary event, the State of the City, and the Independence Day event. And with that, I'll take your questions.
I don't see questions, but
Okay.
could we invite Lori
Yes,
to?
I have Lori Davis here who would like
uh,
to say a few words.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Kelly and council members. I just want to say thank you for creating this position. I feel really grateful and honored to be the first Poet Laureate of Palm Desert. I look forward to promoting the written and spoken word in our community and to mentor a junior laureate. And I think you know that poetry benefits from any advocacy that it can get. So I just really want to say thank you for doing this.
Well, and thank you so much for offering your services for the public. Please know that the 50th anniversary will be the first major public occasion where we invite our Poet Laureate to contribute. And in the same way that Councilmember Harnick was referring to Fashion Week and Food and Wine as defining events for the identity of Palm Desert, I personally feel that being the first city in the Coachella Valley to appoint a Poet Laureate will further identify us as a city which encourages cultural expression and makes it available to all of our residents. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any public comment on this item?
No public comment, Madam Mayor.
Comments, questions, or motion?
I'd move to approve the item as presented.
Would you like to second it? And
I will second.
and Mayor Pro Tem has a comment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to echo that there was unanimous support, and because there were three very qualified individuals that made it as finalists, part of the conversation that was, if for whatever reason, which we hope is not the case, if Ms. Davis is not able to be there, that we have the others may be reached out as a possibility. So we have the number of events that we have we've invited her, or we know that are set with the possibility of others, but I wish you a lot of luck, success, joy in doing this, but also no pressure. Sometimes things change, but my gratitude, you performed very well. Your poetry was touching and very relevant to the desert, which was a priority. So I know that you'll be instrumental in helping brand Palm Desert. And for that, I again issue my gratitude.
Right, please. Yes, yes. Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Item 14C, appropriate funds for emergency expenditures incurred during the August 2023 weather event. I guess we better. May we have a staff report, please?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, as we've mentioned several times tonight, the city activated the EOC in response to Tropical Storm Hillary on August 20th. Part of the activation, of course, included engaging multiple vendors to assist with the immediate cleanup needs throughout the city. This is the first phase of costs that we anticipate related to the storm and fit well within the amount City Council reserves annually for these type of emergency situations. We've included a few related picks, but the list here in front of you are the ones that we are currently paying. We are requesting an appropriation of 1.765 for these initial vendors. And if you could move forward to the next slide. These are some related picks to the work that was immediately necessary. Next slide, please. This is what the parks looked like, and then the last slide. This is the Mid-Valley Channel and Spanish Walk flooding that were spoken about earlier. The last slide, Anthony. As far as next steps, staff is currently working. Oh, my apologies. These are some of the successes we identified, just staff working together and working hard throughout the night. The work that they did out there is just incredible. And one more. So as far as our next steps, staff is currently working with our insurance adjuster and various consultants to identify total losses, our reconstruction needs, additional infrastructure, and or facility needs to accommodate a similar storm in the future, identification of any outdated policies or codes to ensure that we mitigate future issues. Any opportunities for reimbursement of costs to the city are being identified currently, and coordination of any potential regional efforts. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
I don't see questions. Are there any public comment?
No public comment, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Council comments or motion?
I motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Please vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
And our last item is 15A, resolution to approve the fee increase for the Palm Desert Aquatic Center. This is a public hearing issue, so I will open the public hearing and ask for the staff report.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Sean Muir, Community Services Manager, coming today with a staff report and public hearing on Aquatic Center fee increase, along with Liberty Urban, the Deputy Director of Finance. Next slide, please. Just to put together a quick agenda, I want to go through a little bit of background on where we've come on this subject, talk about some of the research that has been done since we last came to you with some information, and then discuss, Liberty will go into more detail about the Aquatic Center needs and some of the financial structures. And then we'd like to make a recommendation for the council. So a little bit about the history. The Aquatic Center opened in 2011. Fees have never been increased since that time, despite lifeguard pay increases, rising chemical costs, and increased management fees for the facility. Those fees were set by resolution at $4 for an adult resident and $6 for an adult non-resident. And the council also set a recovery rate goal of 60%. The Parks and Recreation Committee had requested information about raising the fees, and we've given several presentations that resulted in a recommendation from them I'll get into. And then staff did report at a city council study session back in March. Next slide. So getting into some of the research, the takeaways from the study session when we were last together on this subject was questions about the size and attendance of some of the other aquatic centers in Southern California and in the state. Characterizing some of the aquatic center users. So what are those demographics like? How affordable is it for the community? Are there more residents or non-residents attending? And then what are the user groups? Are we looking at more swim lessons, after school programs, or lap swimming? So just characterizing the use of the facility. Some points that the council also brought up were considering the ancillary benefits of non-resident use. So maybe not increasing non-resident fees so high as to discourage non-residents from coming into the city, enjoying the aquatic center and other amenities that are offered within the city. Another point to consider is that each year general funds are reserved for making improvements for maintenance, and then again, capital improvements, and then feasibility of that 60% cost recovery goal, which was set so long ago at the opening of the facility. Next slide. So contacting other facilities in California proved kind of difficult at first, but as we got into the summer and facilities started opening up for recreational swim, we had a little more luck. So I have some new information for you. There's some logos here of the facilities that I was able to reach out and contact. But generally the takeaways were that there are two types of aquatic centers. We really have more water park based facilities, and then we have city pools. And so talking about city pools, none of the pools that I contacted had an established recovery rate goal. If they knew what their recovery rate was, then it was low. They were all city operated. Each one that I contacted was operated completely by city staff and staffed by city employees. Their rates are all relatively low, so similar to the Palm Desert Aquatic Center. Their opening times are also low. They open very early in the morning. Or I'm sorry, they're very similar. They open early in the morning for those lap swimmers that want to exercise, and then they stay open later in the evening for the after school programs and team sports. And then their programs are mainly focused on community benefits. So you're talking about water exercise, therapy programs, and swim lessons. Next slide. Here's a list of some of those aquatic centers that I contacted. And again, a repeat of the information that we brought to the study session, which was some more of the water park type information toward the bottom. So you'll see that those $25 entry fees, those are the water parks. Splash La Mirada is kind of an outlier because it is a city operated pool, but they do have more of a water park based approach, but they are staffed by city employees. Each of these facilities are open year round with some amenities for recreation only. And then you'll see some of those fees based on height. That just means that they have water slides and they base their fees on 48 inches and above as an adult, and then below as a child fee. The Water Parks Cove is in Riverside, and then Drop Zone is in Lake Paris. That's just some comparative information there. Next slide. And I'm going to turn it over to Liberty Urban to talk more about the fees.
Yes, we had a question on the last slide.
If you were to have our aquatic center there, how would you? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Done.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. We're a little bit shorter than Sean right here. Just diving into the PDAC admission history, the next few slides will probably look a little bit familiar, but as a refresher, admissions at the Aquatic Center are primarily made up of non-residents. We have about a 70% non-resident to 30% resident admission rate. All of the bands in green show our non-resident admissions, and all of the bands in blue show our resident admissions. We do see that dip in 2020 for COVID closures, and we have seen some recovery since then. We don't have 2023 numbers yet, but from preliminary numbers that we have received, it looks fairly strong, and we're seeing a solid recovery. Next slide, please. As Sean mentioned before, if you're a resident of the city, you can get into the Aquatic Center for between $2.50 and $4 right now. Residents pay between $3.75 and $6. And again, just a visual depiction on the right there, 70% non-residents and 30% residents. So as we were visiting fees, we were trying to be very mindful that any changes we make will heavily affect non-residents as well. Next slide. So once you add up all of those admission fees, whatever is left that is not covered has to be subsidized by general fund dollars. This chart goes all the way back to 14-15, but we can see in fiscal year 14-15, we had to transfer about $500,000 to subsidize the Aquatic Center, and that number has been steadily growing over the last several years. We're still closing out the budget numbers for fiscal 22-23, but we have budgeted $1.81 million to transfer from the general fund. And then at the bottom, you can see a chart outlining how that looks in a visual form. We also have two options here. A visual of what no action would look like today, and a visual of what the action would look like if adopted as presented. If no action is taken, we anticipate that for 23-24, that general fund subsidy would increase up to $1.89 million. And if there is an increase, we're looking at about $1.73 million. So the increase is really leveling out the general fund subsidy is what we see. It's not really decreasing it. Next slide, please. Some options that were previously discussed at the study session were to keep the fees the same. This would, of course, have the least impact to patron cost, but we do see an increased general fund subsidy over the next several years. Right now, we're looking at about a 35% cost recovery rate, and that continues to decline. A second option we looked at was an immediate increase to 60% cost recovery. Of course, that would be a dramatic immediate impact, and unless an inflator was built into that, the cost recovery would slip down after that, assuming that costs continue to rise. And then when that idea was introduced, we also received some feedback for the potential for an income qualified discount. So that is something that Sean will talk about in a few slides from now. The third option that we visited, which is the option that we're presenting today, is a very gradual increase over the next several years. We're requesting only year one adoption with annual evaluation to see how the fee is impacting attendance, at the Aquatic Center. We're also keeping this potential for income qualified discounts, and again, reporting back to the council after the 2024 swim season to let you know how it impacted our attendance. Next slide. So I won't go through all of these in detail. All of it is in the staff report today, but I do want to highlight a couple of items. For the adult day pass, the fee would be going from $4 to $5.50 at January 1st. That would increase the revenue just under $12,000 a year. And we have worked up all the calculations for projected annual admissions and how much additional funds that would provide the Aquatic Center. The only outlier you might see is that the annual unlimited pass for a youth and senior actually went down. We found in evaluating the numbers that there was no benefit previously to purchasing an unlimited pass compared to just keep on buying 3-month passes for the whole year. So we did add in a benefit that was not there before. Next slide. For non-resident adults, the fee would go from $6 to $9 at January 1st. We know that non-residents make up a heavy portion of the admissions with nearly 23,000 projected annual admissions, which would generate about 68,000 in additional revenue that would not need to be subsidized by the general fund. We do see the same reflection in the unlimited passes as we did for for residents where the fee actually went down. Next slide. In factoring in the punch cards and unlimited passes, we used a similar approach to what was done in the past, but we wanted to make sure there was a benefit to anyone who wanted to purchase a punch pass or an unlimited pass. By buying a 25 punch card, a resident or non-resident can save 10% over daily admission. If they go at least 3 times a week, they'll have savings by purchasing a 3-month pass. And if they go for that annual unlimited pass, it will save them 30% compared to a 3-month admission. So right now we sell very few annual unlimited passes. Hopefully that could help bolster that number a little bit. Next slide. I'm going to turn it back to Jean.
So some additional considerations to this fee increase. We're looking at implementing this January 1, 2024, and coming back to the City Council and to the Parks and Recreation Committee with some additional information prior to moving forward with a year 2 on this 5-year plan that staff have developed. And then also considering an update to the 60% recovery rate at that time. We're not addressing that in this presentation today. We'll get into financial aid a little bit in more detail on the next slide, but just to mention that we'll be piggybacking off existing programs. So it's not implementing a completely new financial aid program, offering it through those various utilities to the 9 Desert Cities residents and allowing them to qualify for the current rates. And then just to point out that there is a request for proposals that has been issued for a new management contract at the Aquatic Center. That's undergoing the review process. Now we actually have finalist interviews on Monday, and that new contract will be in place starting January 1 as well. So that could mean an increase. It most likely will mean an increase to the management fee. And we've also revised that scope of work to increase reporting back on key performance indicators that the management company is achieving as they operate the facility, some of those incentive programs and promotions that they put out. So we want to kind of hold the management company to a high level on that moving forward. We've also been asked to evaluate the potential for city operation of the Aquatic Center. So that's coming in the future. Next slide. More on the financial aid program. As I mentioned, it would roll out January 1 along with the fee increase. Residents of the 9 Coachella Valley cities would need to just bring a copy of their utility bill showing that they participate in the SARA or CARE programs or the other various programs that are offered through SoCalGas, Edison, CVWD, and others. And once that happens, they would they would be allowed to purchase their pass at the 2011 to 2023 rates. Next slide. This is just a quick timeline to take us through from the beginning, sum it all up. Back in August 2022 is when staff originally reported to the Parks and Rec Committee on this topic. The committee at that time voted to increase fees and also made it a point to ask for increased amenities at the facility. In March 2023, staff came to this City Council's study session to provide you all some initial information on where we were going with this topic. In June 2023, we went back to the Parks and Rec Committee with this 5-year plan, and they unanimously voted to adopt year 1 of the plan and come back and reassess before implementing year 2. Here we are in September 2023, requesting for a vote on this. And the implementation would begin in January 2024, as I mentioned, with the financial assistance program in place. Come fall, after the recreational swim season has ended in 2024, we'll assess the numbers and come back to the committee and then to the council with a recommendation on whether to move forward with year 2 increases. And next slide. Just to articulate the recommendation from staff is to adopt the resolution to increase the aquatic center entry fees for year 1 of the 5-year plan presented. By conducting this public hearing, the city council may approve the recommendation if you so choose. Thank you very much. And we're open for any questions.
First, let me take public comment. We have a request to speak from Terry Applegate. Thank you for your patience.
No problem. Good evening, council. My name is Terry Applegate, and I'm an occupational therapist specializing in aquatic therapy. I live in Cathedral City and teach senior fitness, aquatic balance, and other classes, as well as working with clients privately. I find the proposal to increase fees short-sighted and may backfire, bringing in less revenue than anticipated. Those who are low income may take advantage of discounted programs, but those who don't qualify for these programs may decide that the aquatic center is too costly to attend. I have attended trainings in what makes aquatic centers successful. Mick and Sue Nelson of USA Swimming have a business called Total Aquatic Programming. They conduct trainings both in person and online, and they set this up because they saw too many aquatic centers around the country close due to financial reasons. They focus on 4 pillars for a sustainable aquatic center. 1, learn to swim and water safety education, with which this center does. The fitness pillar, which is also done, but I'll get into more detail. The aquatic therapy pillar, which I don't believe there are current contracts with therapists currently, and the sports and recreation pillar. They also talk about broadening program that incorporates dry land training, such as programs on chronic pain, arthritis, and nutrition. Currently, this center is underutilized in terms of fitness classes. Classes are held between 8 a.m. and 10:45. There's other programs that could be created, such as classes for people with Parkinson's, a post-stroke class, a close focusing on back conditions, etc. There used to be an MS class here. I don't see that on the schedule. When Eisenhower Hospital closed its therapy pool, aquatic centers in the area did not fill in the gap. Has any networking occurred with staff from the Parkinson's Foundation resource, the Neurovitality Center, the United Cerebral Palsy Foundation? I don't know if there are contracts with therapy clinics. I know there used to be with when Karen Creasy was the director here. One of the problems is the low temperatures. During the winter time, that is definitely an issue. You don't want your clients with cancer or other conditions in the pool at 81, 82 degrees. Sports and rec pillar. Outreach to area teams that are not water-based activities to develop cross-training programs. Stand-up paddleboarding is another program that some aquatic centers use around the country. The Aquatic Exercise Association used to hold regional conferences here, often held in December. There are many other national aquatic groups that should be approached to hold trainings here to showcase the beautiful aquatic center and increase revenue. Was a survey done of residents regarding the aquatic center? Did staff talk to people who attend to consider their thoughts? What questions did staff ask when contacting other centers? If you're only talking to struggling centers whose focus is mainly to increase revenue by raising fees, that is a problem. I think there lacked an in-depth look at the current revenue streams and expenses. These are just some of the ideas I have. And I'm sure that if you expanded your search to incorporate community partners, you would find other opportunities to bring in revenue. Thank you.
Miss Applegate, Miss Applegate, your card does not have any contact information. Would you please make sure the clerk has some contact information in case staff wants to reach out to you to follow up
Sure.
on any of your comments?
I just asked that it not be made public.
Of course.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
No other public comment, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Then I will close the public hearing and take questions or comments from council. Yes, Councilmember Troopy.
Okay, thank you for the report. One thing, and I'm on Parks and Rec, and this has been presented many times, but one thing I failed to ask that just thought of this evening is, are there other ways? We've only talked about admission fees, but are there other ways to generate revenue? You know, food sales, snack sales, classes, you know.
Yes, that's a very good question, and something that we aim to address through the new scope of work for the management contract. So we believe there are additional opportunities for new programs to be put in place, opening up the snack bar and serving more concessions, and just kind of diversifying the programs to reduce that city subsidy. Absolutely.
Yes, Councilmember Nastante.
I was just going to, it's not a question, it's conversation. And I believe this has been a very measured approach by staff and the presenters and everybody involved. And I think the option that staff has recommended with the gradual increase and reevaluate is smart and reserved, sensible, and being cognizant that there's many people that are struggling in this economy, but the costs keep going up. And we haven't raised the rate since, you said, 2011. And inflation in the last 2 years has increased drastically. Everything is costing so much more in just the last 2 years. And we need to do something. And I think we have a good plan.
Yes, let me add, it's very important to me that we are only committing to the first year of this printed plan, and that Exhibit A to the resolution as presented reflects annual evaluation. 60% recovery seemed feasible in the first year of operation. That number may bear no relationship to good public policy today. At a time when an aging center is incurring higher costs. So I do feel it's extremely important that we look at this on an annual basis and have an understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, because we certainly want to make sure that there is access to aquatic recreation for all of our residents. And we don't want to get to a point where the folks just beyond what it takes to qualify in the low income category are pinched too heavily. So I do support the recommendation, and I hope during this year you'll also gain experience with the proposed method of implementing the low income break. It will be important, I think, experientially to learn whether there are folks who can't qualify through one of these methods, perhaps utilities are included in their rent, in which case we need to broaden the means to qualify. But this is a great first step. Yes.
I genuinely want to say thank you for the level of detail that you put into this report, because it really provided us a lot of information. And I think Ms. Applegate makes some great points. Perhaps there are some community partners out there that maybe we haven't explored, the Neurovitality Center, things like that. And those are opportunities for us as well. Everything that everyone has said makes sense. We haven't raised the price since 2011. And there's nothing else that I can think of that hasn't been increased since then. So we have to look at that. And in fact, in our consent calendar, we just okayed almost $800,000 more investment into the aquatic center to put up the shade structure. So we have a lot to maintain it. It is an aging facility, and we have to maintain it. And I actually remember when we passed it saying we could maybe make 60% recovery, and it didn't look very good for a long time. And we kind of made it, and maybe 60% wasn't very realistic at that time. But we need to make sure that we're not just continually drawing on the general fund. So I know there's been some other ways or that have been suggested that we might be able to generate more revenue, and we need to look at those. But in the meantime, I think taking it in year increments with evaluation is a very prudent way to go about this. So I appreciate all the work you did on this. Thank you.
Would you like to finish up by moving the item?
I will move the item as presented.
I will second.
Let's vote. Oh, excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I would like to echo the idea that we do need to increase the rates because we can't stagnate as everything else has. We can't sacrifice the quality of the programs we offer by keeping the rates where they are. And in terms of looking at different places or opportunities for revenue, do we offer any equipment that can be rented? As mentioned, paddling or whatnot, even if we don't have organized courses, are there times that are blocked and items that we can rent as additional forms of revenue?
Yes, there are. So there's a multi-purpose room that can be rented for birthday parties. And then there are options to do facility rentals of one pool, the other, or the entire facility. And so that's something for corporate events that can be taken advantage of. But in terms of just equipment, the YMCA does rent kickboards. I believe they have goggles and some other items, swim caps and things like that for both for sale and for rent.
Awesome. Thank you.
Apologize. Now let's vote.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
There being no other business on the posted agenda, we will be adjourned.